I wanted to come out here to support Tony because this is very important. This riding is very important for not only for Windsor and Essex County, but also obviously for the people here. You know, we're so close and we have so many families that touch base from this area that go to the heart of what a country really needs to be. And the country needs to have balance. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. A balance in that, making sure that we have a strong agricultural community and we have a strong manufacturing base. And Stephen Harper and the Liberals have let us down on these regards. And it's about time we turn this around. We have lost too many jobs across the border to Mexico, and more in particular. We had a certain real situation last week that could have actually made a big difference when Ford decided to actually announce and go to Mexico instead of actually coming to Canada. And I know that there's been a ping pong of exchange in terms of the public between the government members trying to blame Ford, and Ford being basically tight-lipped right now, but there has been some discussion that they actually were playing Canada along. But here's the difference that we would have with a new Democratic government than what we have right now. Right now, all we do is a Hail Mary pass to try to get jobs at the last minute. What we need is a comprehensive auto strategy that lays out goals and objectives. And there's 11 other countries in the world that have this auto strategy. And what I mean by the specifics is they set targets and they set goals, and they make sure that when they get those targets and goals, and the resources are there to actually entice the company to come in and to be there, and then to develop those products and services, which we then actually have co-control over in terms of moving them to other markets. So say, for example, why does Canada not have an electric engine? Why can't one of the most sophisticated countries with science and technology attract alternative technology? It's because we don't have a business plan. And when we don't have a business plan, we end up letting our citizens down. And where is the jobs? When you look at the fact that what they said is that we had to get lower corporate taxes, we're going to actually be the panacea, right? So we actually do have lower corporate taxes in the United States. Where are the jobs? They haven't come. They haven't come to this area. They haven't come to my hometown. In fact, we've lost more. So their economic agenda of the Harper administration, as what it's done, is it's reduced the coffers of the nation in terms of how much money that we have. And it hasn't played back out to actually creating the jobs that they said it would do. In fact, what's been happening is the oil and gas industry, for example, have been making out like bandits. And I'll give you an example. It's really a really good example of how bad their economics really are. And an independent commission paper from the Department of Finance took all the different governments, provincially and federally, and we don't have a federal NDP government example yet, but we have plenty of provincial examples. But what they found was the NDP balanced the books and also brought in surpluses more times than other parties. And the reason for it is when you think about the history of the party, Tommy Douglas was about creating an environment, first of all, creating an environment where there was no corruption, and then he brought in balance in the books, and then he brought in health care. So it was a progression step along the way. So when you look at the oil and gas industry right now, so they get not only a tax cut, and we lose that money for our health care, which I needed this week. But we lose that money for our education. We lose that money for our environment. We end up creating an unbalanced economy where our pollution and our environment are at odds. And we're putting that, we are stuffing that environmental legacy into the backpacks of our kids. And I say we have to turn this around, and Tony would be part of that solution to do that. You see, even as we speak right now, the oil and gas industry still gets subsidies. So until, and this, I always like to talk about this one. This is a great one, the HST. Remember the HST, brought in the HST, right? HST, also, the argument bringing in the HST, remember they were supposed to stop the cascading, so-called cascading taxation, and we were supposed to get more manufacturing jobs? Didn't come about. But you know what on the HST? For Ontario and for British Columbia, we had to borrow $6 billion because we're in a deficit right now, right? So we had to borrow some more money for it. So I just did a general economic independent paper commissioned by the finance from the Library of Parliament. These are independent financiers that are available to us as members of Parliament, and asked, when we get back into a surplus, given the variable rate of borrowing the government of Canada has, how much money will we actually have paid at the end of the day? Because we're paying interest on it. So it actually was in the form of $8 to $9 billion in terms of the cost that it actually we're going to incur if it comes back in 10 years. But my point being this, is how can we continue to borrow money and pay interest on large corporate tax reductions for the oil and gas industry? Does that seem fair? No, it doesn't. And that's why we have to stop it. And we can. We can stop it. We have choices to make. I know some people look at polls right now, and they look at polls and they get a little skittish because the NDP is at 26, 27%. Depends upon the poll that you have. Some at 25. They do all this polling. But look at the polling that didn't matter in the last provincial election. Look at the polling that didn't take place. And I want to remind everybody here, when I won in 2002, the NDP was at 13%. So Tony can do it. And last election, absolutely. And last election, with Jack Layton, we fought for years. I was the 14th member of the caucus. I sat in the back seat. I sat in a seat where you could barely, you almost need the jaws of life to get into. It was so, and I ripped so many pairs of pants, to get into it. It's a true story. It's a true story. It's a back left corner of the nice thing is as we moved along, I got to move forward and got to sit next to the Sergeant of Arms for many years, who I think is a real Canadian hero. Talk about, yeah. I don't know if you saw it, but there was a cartoon. It was a cartoon. There's two cartoons that I saw that really struck me in the paper. There was one of the war memorial with the soldier reaching down to Nathan. And I walk by there every morning on the way to work. And I walk right by there and see them on guard. And it's so nice to see Canadians paying tribute. It reminds me of the tribute that Jack got when people's heartfelt, just dropping stuff off. It's amazing. It's hard to describe it, but at any rate, it's there and it's there. And there's the other cartoon that had kids going out on Halloween. One was dressed as Batman, one was dressed as Spider-Man, one was dressed as a Captain America. And then there was a kid dressed as a Sergeant at Arms. And one kid said to the other, "Who's that?" "Well, that's a Canadian superhero." But I digress a little bit here, and I don't want to take up too much time. But I do want to once again impress that when the house that Jack built, the foundations are still there, and the positive energy is still there, and the caucus is still there. Now, when you have more people, you're going to have a bigger family. When you have a bigger family, you have different issues to deal with than ever before. That's just reality. So sometimes there's ups, and sometimes there's downs. But that's okay. The morale is there, the organization there, and the strength is there. And I can tell you Thomas is an excellent leader. When he was finance minister, he never said no to my idea that I had. He always said, like Jack said, you're in proposition, not opposition. Show me how to get it done. So when I asked this time, about a year and a half ago, if I could be critic of the Great Lakes because I felt that this region and this area of the Great Lakes doesn't get enough attention, Tom said, make me a business plan, and I did. And so today, I have 5 major initiatives on the Great Lakes, and we have a booklet coming out, and we're doing on the offensive for the first time, on microplastics, lake water levels, water quality, a whole series of things, invasive carp. We're going on the offensive. And that's what a member like Tony, when the NDP will do, is we go on the offensive. We propose those things. We don't just oppose things. We find those things to try to get done for our community. And I can tell you, I'm so proud of my office and the work that they do every single day. And I know he would have an activist office as well, too. So to conclude, I want to say thank you very much for all that you've done for him and will do for him. It takes a lot of energy, commitment. You're going to be busy. I know we haven't met yet, but I was already introduced. But I can tell you, it does make a difference. And Tom's got the right team in place. So when I go back to Ottawa, I'll be proud to say we have another Democrat ready to go for ourselves. I got nominated early as well, too, just to make sure. And we've grown over the years. Again, I started at 13% with 14 of us. We go into this election, and last election, we fought real hard on a whole bunch of issues just to get at 20% in the polls on a regular basis, and we came out with over 100 members. So have faith, have the courage and the conviction. We know what's behind us. We've tried the black cats, we've tried the white cats, we've tried the spotted cats, we've tried the, all that stuff. We've tried all that. We're not perfect, but we represent working class people to the core. I'm proud to be part of your family. You're part of my family. When we go to Ottawa, we think about our supporters every day. I wouldn't have the chance to go and try to make a difference if it wasn't for many people, including people in this room, that gave not only their time, their money, but also were willing to talk to other people and to be proud. So I want to make sure that my seatmate can be Tony. We all know Joe Camarton's retiring after many good years, so I need some backup. Please bring me my backup. Thank you very much.